Welcome to Football Conspiracies.
I'm Jared Cole.
And I'm Jared Rabinovich.
This week's episode is Taylor Swift a Psy-Op? I got a quick little thing before we jump into the main episode.
Alrighty.
But we should have been hoping for the Chiefs to win.
I mean, I can't accept that as a premise.
Every time a Philadelphia-based team wins the World Series or a Super Bowl, bad things happen.
Please explain. I'm very intrigued.
So, in 1910, the Philadelphia Athletics won the World Series, and that year, the Panic of 1910-1911 happened, and there was a 25% bear market. In 1911, the Athletics won the World Series again, and all 12 months were a recession. In 1913, the Athletics won the World Series again, there was another recession, and World War I was the next year. In 1929, the Athletics won the World Series again, and there was the market crash of 1929. In 1930, the Athletics won the World Series again, and there was the Great Depression. In 1980, the Phillies won the World Series, and there was a double-dip recession of the early 1980s. In 2008, the Phillies won the World Series, and there was the financial crisis of 2008. In 2018, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and stocks had their worst year since 2008.
So, pretty much what you're telling me is that a Philly Super Bowl World Series is going to cause a market crash unless it causes a world war.
And it looks like that this Philly Super Bowl is going to cause both.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's a little scary out there. You might be, unfortunately, closer than I want you to be on that prediction. You're right, that's totally cursed. Frankly, I don't know if the Chiefs winning would have changed anything about that, but I would love to see that counterfactual. Marvel, create a what if for that, please.
Yeah.
All right, now for the main portion of the episode. Well, it's only been a few weeks after the season's conclusion. I have found that the NFL rumor mill has been completely run dry. As I discussed on our previous episode, where I dug a bit more into this, I fear the rumor mill for the NFL has officially come to its off-season as well. Because of the massive uptick of online discourse regarding conspiracy in the NFL, we've been covering contemporaneous events for the past handful of episodes, pretty much since the Super Bowl was in its lead-up. This will no longer be the case. We are back to our regular scheduled programming, speaking about the most influential and tantalizing football conspiracies of the past. Of course, if anything comes up that requires our attention, we will certainly go back to modern day and be covering that. But for now, I'm excited about what the off-season means for our show. Instead of constantly chasing the latest stories, we can finally go back to the original form of this podcast and discuss some theories that have actually had some time to brew. In celebration of this return to normalcy, at least in regard to our podcast, we will be discussing a fan favorite topic today, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, you gotta love Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, she just pumps the numbers, so I can't be too upset about it. This is like the podcast equivalent of clickbait.
Yeah.
But I do promise this is actually a great episode. Our last episode about Taylor Swift, we spoke about the theory that I dubbed the Taylor Swift Jets game theory. Not the catchiest title, I know, but certainly an interesting listen if you want some more Taylor content. Which I know you sickos absolutely do. This is not a direct follow-up to that previous episode, so feel free to continue listening to this one before going back for some more Football Conspiracies x-Taylor content. This week, we'll be discussing what I consider to be one of the most interesting Taylor Swift theories. And this is the question as to whether Swift is a secret Democratic Party asset. So, J. Cole, do you know anything about this one?
I mean, for someone who's a Democratic asset, she's friends with a lot of people who support Trump.
And not just that, she's just piss poor at the job.
Yeah.
But we'll certainly be getting into that. This theory does absolutely stretch beyond the bounds of the NFL. You may be surprised by how much of this conspiracy is tied to football, though. Primarily, this is via the connection to Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, which is likely unsurprising. It's unclear where the best starting point for speaking about this theory is, but I'm just gonna go back to roughly what I remember. I recollect hearing rumblings of the theory that Taylor Swift is a Democratic asset as far back as the 2020 election, when she made the decision to publicly endorse Joe Biden. However, the theory seems to have really taken off in later years, especially in the run-up to the 2024 election. This, I believe, is likely because of two things. One, Taylor Swift was, at this time, in the lead-up to the 2024 election, in the midst of her Eras tour, what would turn out to be the most successful music tour of all time. Largely because of this, she was, in my humble opinion, the most famous person in the world in that moment.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, like, I believe she won the Person of the Year that year. Like, she...
Yeah, if anyone capitalized on fame in the moment, she definitely did.
And don't get me wrong, she's been uber A-list celebrity for
but that
well over
was
a decade now. But
quite the peak she had during her Eras tour.
I personally cannot think of a time that someone who wasn't, like, a world leader has been more famous than Taylor Swift in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, It was absolutely, like, nothing I've ever seen. I heard a lot of people comparing it to what the Beatles were like in the 60s. Just, like, a phenomenon in indescribable proportion. Truly once in a generation, it seems like. The second reason why I think this theory seems to have really taken off in the run-up to the 2024 election is because Swift is now dating Travis Kelce. While this may seem unimportant in the grand scheme of things, especially when we're talking about, Democratic Party assets in the 2024 presidential election, I actually think it's quite consequential. This is because her relationship with Kelce brought her to a new level of recognition within a demographic of people who usually paid her no mind. And more importantly, this demographic was often openly hostile towards Swift. And also importantly, for the purposes of this theory at least, many people in this demographic strongly disagreed with Taylor's public political stances. These reasons in tandem, I believe, set up the perfect circumstances for a conspiracy theory of this nature to thrive. Now that I've laid the groundwork, it's time to explain the conspiracy theory. And, its relation to the NFL.
Yeah, no, I can, see the pieces fitting together in my brain just from the intro, and it's starting to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it is weirdly connected, and I don't think a lot of people ever looked at it much through this angle, so I'm glad to be able to give this view of this, especially from a long-term point of view, where I could really give a true post-mortem, as opposed to a lot of the reactionary takes that we got just following this theory becoming larger online.
Okay.
And before I get into it, I just want to shout out Oliver Darcy and Andrew Kaczynski from CNN for the research that helped shape this episode. In the year or so leading up to the 2024 presidential election, many right-wing influencers began peddling a theory that Taylor Swift and the NFL were part of a staged plan of carrying out psychological operations, or Psy-Ops for short, all being coordinated by the Democratic Party. This was all being done with the ultimate goal of delivering the 2024 presidential election to Joe Biden.
Wasn't Kamala the representative for the Democrats in 2024?
That's absolutely true, but as you probably remember, Joe Biden dropped out very late, and these theories came into fruition well before Joe Biden actually dropped out of the race. So this all started with Biden. Towards the end of it, definitely people believed that she was no longer trying to get Joe Biden and she was trying to get Kamala Harris. And that's why I think it's important that this wasn't coordinated by Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. This was coordinated by the Democratic Party, whoever their leader was at that given time. Good question, though. Well, this sentiment had been building for months, if not years. To me, it seems that one of the defining moments of this theory breaking away from the dark corners of the internet and becoming a mainstream talking point was when Fox News primetime host Jesse Waters brought it up on his show. Me and J. Cole literally were just talking about how much of a smarmy bitch this guy is.
Yeah, when I turn on the news, I always turn on CNN, and then when they go to commercial, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to turn on Fox, because you know what? Maybe this time it's different, and it never is.
It's never been different.
It's never different.
It's never going to be different.
And it always hurts.
Yes, I mean, if you were able to have a show like Succession based after the people who started your company, then maybe it doesn't say great things about you. But truly, this Jesse Waters clip is flabbergasting. And now we'll play the clip. I want to start introducing clips in a more, like, organic way like that. Instead of saying we're going to introduce the clip, we'll say like that thing.
This is how I know
you're cooking me. You're cooking me. I get it.
Yeah. Okay. Just now you can listen.
No way.
Taylor Swift's the biggest star in the world. Sorry, Gutfeld. She's been blanketed across the sports media entertainment atmosphere. The New York Times just speculated she's a lesbian. And last year's tour broke Ticketmaster. A tour that's revenue tops the GDP of 50 countries. I mean, I like her music. She's all right. But, I mean, have you ever wondered why or how she blew up like this? Well, around 4 years ago, the Pentagon's Psychological Operations Unit floated turning Taylor Swift into an asset during a NATO meeting. What kind of asset? A Psy-Op for combating online misinformation. Listen.
You came in here...
I didn't hear Democrat. I just heard combat misinformation, which seems like a good thing in my opinion. But I mean, we know what Republicans and Jesse Waters especially must think of quote-unquote misinformation.
Well, yes. I mean, I think the biggest piece of misinformation in that entire part is when he said that he likes Taylor Swift's music. Dog, you can't name a song. Like, I'm so sorry to be that guy, but, like, that's the biggest lie that he's ever told.
See,
and he tells lies professionally.
Yeah, the second he said that, I was like, he definitely just said that to make sure that the audience that that listens to Taylor Swift doesn't go, okay, no.
100%, and I bet it didn't work.
No.
That being said, I understand the confusion a little bit. He's saying that that she's a Pentagon asset, but the implication is at the time of this clip, Joe Biden was president, the Democrats controlled the Pentagon, so it was all part of the same sort of a machine, democratic machine, if you will. And before we move on from criticizing Jesse Waters, I just need to say, it must be said, that the cadence in which he speaks makes me want to punch him in the face so goddamn bad. Similar to Tucker Carlson, which is funny. Me and J. Cole were literally just talking about how bad we want to punch Tucker Carlson in the face, who is Jesse Waters' predecessor as the primetime host on Fox News. I just always feel like both of these men are speaking to me like I'm a 5-year-old, and I couldn't be more stupid for disagreeing with a single thing they say. There's like every word that comes out of their mouth, they act as like it's a self-evident truth, and I can't handle that shit. Like,
yeah, no, they suck.
They're just so condescending. It seethes into, like, I don't know. I could go on about how much I hate these guys for a whole episode.
I mean, like, Tucker Carlson is like a confirmed Russian asset, so it's like,
well, I mean, allegedly. And honestly, like, I think what's way crazier is the fact that he was attacked by a demon in his bed that he was sleeping in with his 4 dogs.
Yeah, that's, well, yeah, what?
Have you not heard this story?
No.
Oh my god. Probably 6 months ago or so, he was doing a interview with a pastor where he started telling him that he had been attacked by a demon while sleeping in bed with his wife and his 4 dogs, and he woke up with claw marks and blood. Maybe that was a dog? I don't know. I'm not an expert on this sort of thing, but it feels like the demon might have not been the...
A demon?
Yeah.
It would have been a dog.
And a bad dream, maybe?
Yeah.
Or just completely made up, which I think is all the more likely considering who the guy is.
Yeah, yeah.
So, back to this Jesse Waters clip. I just want to also point out that it was more exacerbated than just what this clip would have been on its own by some of surrounding events that happened around the same time that all played into this overarching theory that Taylor Swift is a Democratic asset. One of these things is that an article was released by the New York Times that reported that Joe Biden would like Taylor Swift's endorsement again in the 2024 election, like she gave him in the previous 2020 election. Personally, I think this is a non-story. This is a nothing.
Yeah, obviously, like, politician wants celebrity endorsement. Tale as old as time.
Exactly. Like, this is the stupidest, like, it's honestly nothing reporting from the New York Times. Like, I don't even know where they publish it.
I mean, technically they have to, because it's, like, big name politician and big name celebrity, but, like, they have to publish it, not because they want to, but because they are obligated to.
I understand the incentive, but the fact that this is being listed as a motive in this theory is absolutely, or like a piece of evidence in this theory is absolutely insane to me. Like you just said, any presidential candidate would be a complete idiot if they didn't want the endorsement of the world's most popular pop artist.
Yeah, I bet you Donald Trump would not be upset if Taylor Swift was like, you know what, I've changed my mind, I'm voting for Donald Trump.
It would embrace her and give her the Presidential Medal of Freedom the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Either way, regardless of my thoughts and J. Cole's agreement, some people thought this was a big deal at the time. Some right-wing influencers who were peddling this conspiracy immediately folded this piece of evidence, quote-unquote, into their theories. The second thing, exacerbating event that happened in this time period, is that Travis Kelce participated in a marketing campaign for Pfizer. Well, this would be meaningless to most people. Many right-wing conspiracists believe Pfizer and their COVID vaccine are responsible for killing or sterilizing millions of people, a claim that is utterly false and completely unsubstantiated. That being said, the conspiracists took Kelce's participation in this campaign as evidence that he was part of the Psy-Op. After Jesse Waters put his stake in the game, many other prominent figures began speaking their mind on the subject as well. Vivek Ramaswamy, who was, at the time, a recently failed Republican presidential candidate, and who is, at this time, a recently failed co-leader of Doge and future failed candidate for Senator of Ohio, said this in response to the Kelce-Swift asset allegations.
I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl next month. And I wonder if there's a major presidential endorsement coming from an artificially, culturally propped up couple this fall. Just some wild speculation over here. Let's see how it ages over the next 8 months.
Thoughts, J. Cole?
I mean, dude called the Super Bowl right there. That's crazy.
That's what you take from this?
I mean, it's a crazy prediction. He's like, don't be shocked if the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl this year. And I mean, they were the favorites, but he isn't wrong.
It was a pretty milquetoast take. That being said, you're right. He wasn't wrong.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, he was wrong about all the rest of the stuff, but about the Super Bowl prediction, he was right about that. I think this quote is particularly notable because this is the first time we've seen the mention that Taylor and Kelce's relationship is always set up by the Democrats to create a marketing machine for their party and presidential candidate. So that is, I think, the immediate tie into the NFL and why this is so important for the purposes of our podcast. Kelce is an integral part of this theory because it was about tying these two figures together to not only get this flock of this huge fan base of Taylor Swift fans, as well as this huge fan base of NFL fans who love Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Ramaswamy's comments were all said in response to an interview between infamous alt-right influencer and advocate of the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, Jack Posobiec, and Roseanne Barr, formerly known as a successful comedian and actor, and now known as a right-wing zealot and a friend of RFK Jr. She was actually the one who had that interview with him where he talked about leaving the dead bear in Central Park.
In Central Park.
Yeah, she was the one who he released that story to.
Wow.
Yes. In the interview, not the one with RFK, the one with Posobiec, Jack Posobiec laid out his belief that the Democratic Party is
gearing up for an operation to use Taylor Swift in the election against Donald Trump.
Roseanne Barr agreed and continued by saying,
Taylor Swift is definitely somebody who has consented to speak the way the establishment wants to be spoken of.
So, I mean, I think this is drivel, but what are you on? What are your thoughts?
Celebrity in the past has made appropriate comments endorsing our candidate, and therefore, if she were to make comments in the future, we would not be worried about what she has to say.
Yes, great take. But I think the big thing is also what your comment reminds me of is why are they all like, it must be a psyop in 2024 when she didn't, endorse the same presidential candidate, Joe Biden, out of her own volition 4 years earlier.
Yeah.
It's not like she's a completely different person or an automaton.
No, it's
right?
because it's because Joe Biden destroyed America, so he has to convince Taylor Swift to re-endorse him.
Well, I mean, maybe it should be Donald Trump's job to convince her not to endorse him, which, might have happened, I guess. To illustrate exactly how popular this got, this theory I'm talking about, I will now share a couple more quotes from some prominent right-wing personalities. Laura Loomer, who has over 1.5 million followers on Twitter and is famous for handcuffing herself to the Twitter HQ doors unsuccessfully and proclaiming herself as a self-declared Islamophobe, added her thoughts to this conversation.
The Democrats' Taylor Swift election interference Psy-Op is happening in the open. It's not a coincidence that current and former Biden admin officials are propping up Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. They are going to use Taylor Swift as the poster child for their pro-abortion GOTV campaign.
Honestly, this is exactly the sort of garbage I've come to expect from Laura Loomer. She is truly a piece of shit. So I can't be surprised that she was just trying to squeeze any bit of clout she could out of this more popular theory at the time. But, like, this is just sad stuff. It's sad.
To think that the Democrats would do this as a psyop is fundamentally wrong, because the football fans they're trying to indoctrinate onto their side hate the relationship.
Yes.
Their main target hates the relationship that they're targeting for. Like if they, like, it has to be like the worst psyop ever. You have to be psyoped to convince this is real.
That's a take and an angle I've not considered yet, and I could not agree more. You're absolutely right. This is just not a psyop in any way, and if the psyop, quote unquote, is to try to get Taylor Swift, the most popular, most famous person in the world, to endorse your party for president, wouldn't that just be like an operation? Like, that's just a thing that...
That's like a campaign sets out to get their candidate endorsed.
Yeah,
like,
that's
just
less of a
do.
psychological operation and more of just a campaign activity.
Although, hear me out, why did the Biden administration use the Pentagon to get Taylor Swift's endorsement? Why didn't they use, like, a campaign manager, you know?
Well, I mean, that's something you're going to have to ask Jesse Waters, because clearly he made that shit up, so you're going to have to ask him for the made-up logic as well. And lastly, we're going to hear from Mike Crispy, a right-wing political commentator and New Jersey Trump delegate. While he is not nearly as famous as the other people we've discussed, I feel the need to include this quote as it so well encapsulates the entire theory.
The NFL is totally rigged for the Kansas City Chiefs, Taylor Swift, Mr. Pfizer, Travis Kelce. All to spread Democrat propaganda. Calling it now. KC wins, goes to the Super Bowl. Swift comes out at halftime and endorses Joe Biden with Kelce at midfield.
This is like such a funny quote to me. First of all, thank you for screaming the all caps, because that's definitely what he was thinking when he was writing it.
I mean, why else would he put it in all caps?
But honestly, like, not only do I love this quote because it pretty much summarizes what I've been trying to get across this entire episode, but on top of that, what's so good about it is this theory that Swift comes out at halftime and endorses Joe Biden with Kelce at midfield. This is the equivalent of Travis Kelce is going to propose to Taylor Swift at halftime this year.
Yeah, that would also, like, I feel like that would be the worst campaign move. Imagine. I think everybody in the world would hate that. If the halftime show was just Taylor Swift endorsing Joe Biden.
Yeah, like, that's horrible. Like, if that did happen...
Imagine going to the Super Bowl thinking that Taylor Swift is the halftime show. She spends 15 minutes just talking about Joe Biden and his policies and walks off.
No, like, straight up, if that had happened, I would believe that this was a Pentagon psyop.
Yes.
Like, 100%. That is a step too far.
Yeah, no, I would, yeah. Or maybe she's a Russian asset trying to improve Donald Trump's standing by lowering Joe Biden's.
You know what? You never know in this day and age.
It could have been both. They're working together.
Oh, wow. You're adding a new fold to this. I'm glad that we're conspiring about this conspiracy that hasn't been around for over a year. I hope. Now that I've laid this all out, I need to make something clear. This entire theory is based on a false premise. This seems to have largely begun with Jesse Waters' comments about Swift being a Pentagon asset. This is unequivocally false. The DoD and Pentagon have both come out denouncing the theory. Not only do they not have any communications with Swift, they are also not in the business of rigging presidential elections. additional journalistic investigations have further corroborated the veracity of the DoD and Pentagon's claims. As of right now, there is zero evidence that Swift or Kelce or their relationship is part of any Democratic Party Psy-Op. And if you are someone who still believes this theory, I would love to see your evidence. Reach out to footballconspiracies@gmail.com. I am genuinely interested in understanding why some people still hold on to this theory.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm surprised that DoD and Pentagon even acknowledged this. Like, it's crazy when they acknowledge these ridiculous theories, because then it gives them validity, you know? If they're just, like, screaming to nothing and no one answers, then it's just like, oh, look at that idiot screaming at nothing. But if that idiot's screaming at something, then it's like, hey, that guy's actually, like, doing something there, you know?
The unfortunate thing is the Overton window has shifted so much that it allows for this sort of garbage and bullshit. And on top of that, Jesse Waters simply isn't some guy screaming into nothing, because he is the most popular news anchor in America. So, like, unfortunately, as much as you want to ignore him, more people are hearing this guy's voice every night than any other person.
Damn.
Yeah, it's sad to think about, but this is something that is genuinely a defense, a national security issue, so it's something that the Pentagon and the DoD, unfortunately, have to address. If it was just Laura Loomer screaming about it on her Twitter, of course they never would have said something. People are screaming shit about the DoD and Pentagon on their Twitter every single day. But when Jesse Waters says it...
Damn.
And on top of that, the last time that a Fox News host, started spouting shit about a company that they weren't telling the truths about, it was Dominion voting systems, and Tucker Carlson lost his job over it. So maybe it's not the worst thing to call out these people when you can.
Yeah. Damn.
So I would like to end this episode with a quote from Jared Holt. I know, very confusing, another Jared. He is a researcher of extremism and disinformation who put it so well why I believe this topic is worthwhile to speak about.
The individuals and outlets spreading conspiracy theories about Taylor Swift sound ridiculous because they are exactly that. But they are also among the leading sources of information for modern conservatives, and they have the financial backing of Republican elites to spread exactly this kind of nonsense. To me, it's a sign of just how far gone and unconcerned with reality conservative media is today, and it makes you wonder what they're actually trying to accomplish here. Yeah, like I said, they're the ones who are doing the Psy-Op, not Joe Biden and Taylor Swift.
Absolutely. Like, if there is a Psy-Op going on, it's the Psy-Op to make us believe that there's a Psy-Op.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly,
crazy.
Evil genius.
Crazy. They're doing something right because it worked.
Yeah, like, that's some MK Ultra shit. Like, they went deep on this one. And suffice to say, I could not agree with Holt more. I think this is such a prescient point he's making, and I think he just really summarized my thoughts about the situation very well. This stuff is silly, and we love making fun of it, but it is also deadly serious. And no matter how ridiculous this gets, and I don't think we've even seen the beginning of the ridiculousness, we cannot lose sight of the grave consequences that are a direct result of the bullshit peddled by these right-wing personalities.
It's crazy that we live in a world where we have to worry about this kind of shit. That's wild. It's just Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce went on a date, and all of a sudden, it's a Democratic Pentagon Psy-Op.
Yeah,
holy fuck. Check yourself, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I harken back to, when we were kids, and it was whoa, Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez are dating. And it was not it was scandalous because there was two famous people dating. And it was is it a PR thing because they're just trying to make themselves more famous?
Yeah.
And if people were talking about their relationship, which I've heard people talk about it, is it just a PR stunt? Are they just doing this to raise both their personal brands? That's a discussion that I think at this point is quite silly, but I think it is a discussion that's not dumb to have. That's a worthwhile conversation.
Especially at the beginning of the whole thing.
Exactly. But now...
At this point,
the fact that we can't just go, oh, it's a PR thing, or, oh, they're just a couple that's in love. We have to go, no. This whole thing is so the Democrats can win the election. That's insane.
No, it's truly fucked.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs.
Alrighty, welcome to the end segment where we will be bringing you some crazy things.
Wow. Getting
Yeah,
cleaner and cleaner every week. I love it.
I don't know, more enthusiasm than last week for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to put together that supercut one day of you slowly developing this.
Okay,
One day it's going to be pristine. I know it.
Yeah, Jared, I know who is going to win Super Bowl 61.
61.
Yes.
So 2 years from now.
I know who is going to win Super Bowl in 2027.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I feel like I say I'm intrigued and things like that a lot of the time.
Well,
you haven't straight up never had me on the hook more than right now.
I always bring intriguing things. What can I say?
For sure, but this is beyond the pale. And I swear to God, like these guys, this episode's going to end with the sound of me punching you in the face if you pull the rug on me right now.
No. There's like actual like I can use a calendar and I can use history to both prove it.
Then do it.
Yeah, okay, so let's start with the calendar. Okay. Guess on what date. Oh, wait, I should tell you who's going to win first, shouldn't I?
Yeah, maybe.
The Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love will win Super Bowl 61 in 2027.
Okay, I'm not that upset about that. I like the Packers right now. I like Jordan Love.
Well, 2 years from now, he's going to win the Super Bowl.
And that's not like a terrible prediction. Why isn't your futures bet in yet?
Because I can't bet on the
2027 Super Bowl. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's
the
fair.
second I can, I will.
Okay. Explain.
Yeah, so let's start with the calendar. Do you know when the Super Bowl 2027 is?
I mean, probably in February of 2027.
Yeah, and do you know why it would be so significant for Jordan Love to be playing in February?
I have
Valentine's Day is Super Bowl 2027. Sorry to all those girlfriends out there. Your boyfriends will be watching football.
That's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, insane, because seasons have only been getting longer because they just keep adding weeks and stuff, and it just so happens the way the calendar works out.
It's on
Valentine's
Day.
Yeah.
That's going to be so funny.
Yeah, it's only the second Sunday of February.
Oh, I guess. that's just crazy. That's so wild to me. So it's going to be on Valentine's Day. And are you saying he's going to win because his name is Love and it's on Valentine's Day?
Well, that's part of it. I mean, you can't... When you're putting together things like this, you really can't overlook the obvious.
Yeah, because that's immediately comes to me.
It's staring you right in the face.
For sure.
Jordan Love, Valentine's Day.
Yeah, because if that was the only piece of evidence, I would have punched you in the face regardless. So.
Yeah. No. This also has a little bit of history behind it. Okay? So, the Green Bay Packers have been a very fortunate franchise when it has come to their quarterbacks. They went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love.
I do think that's like a brilliant coaching and managing decision. Like if you look at what they've done, like getting a great quarterback when they don't necessarily need it. So when their old quarterback isn't as good anymore, they can just bring in the new young one. They've done that for the past two, and it's worked them. It's been pretty good for them.
Yeah, it's worked out a little bit.
But you are right. They have been incredibly fortunate nonetheless.
Yeah, and so not a big trend, but a trend that was noticed by football fans is that both Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl in their fourth year with the Green Bay Packers. Do you know in 2027 how many years Jordan Love will have been playing for the Green Bay Packers?
Can I take a wild guess?
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, it's crazy. But people are also saying, like, Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre had very similar careers. Like, they both won multiple MVPs. They both won a Super Bowl with Green Bay. Had a ton of all-pro appearances. Went to the Jets. Were shit. Then went to the Vikings. Favre went to the Vikings. And Aaron Rodgers is rumored to be going to the Vikings. So, I mean...
Yeah, no,
crazy coincidences there, and
Jordan
Love looks to be following in that path. I mean, with this Super Bowl in 2027, he'll be right there with them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd be more satisfied than anything if like Love won on Valentine's Day. Like, that's hilarious. Love wins for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, if that does happen, like, we are lining up for the most crazy line of coincidences in NFL history. Like, this is like getting to the level of the Adam Theismann and
Joe Theismann.
Sorry, Joe Theismann.
Leg injury.
Yeah, and the FedEx Field curse. Listen to the episode. Hard to keep track of the episodes this far in. Yeah,
we've talked about a lot of curses on this, and a lot of similarities between these players' injuries, and and careers, and this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, it really feels like if you have a sample size big enough, you can find similarities pretty much anywhere. That being said, if this happens, I will be so excited about it. Like, that would be incredible. I just hope that Jordan Love doesn't follow the Aaron Rodgers conspiracy bend as well.
Well, I mean, Brett Favre turned out to be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then Aaron Rodgers is looking not to be the greatest of guys. But I mean, there's always Jordan Love Toyota-thon.
And I just hope that he does stay a good guy, because then someone way in the future is going to come back and rip me the clip at the beginning of this segment when I go, I really like Jordan Love.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They're right again. I'm fucked.
Yeah, I'm quoting you on that, bro, out of context. In a couple of years when Jordan Love is scamming old people.
What do you mean? When Jordan Love is a Super Bowl winner?
Yeah, 2027.
Put your bets down. Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
You can find us on Twitter at FB Conspiracies, where we will post all the graphics and links we spoke about during this episode.
You can also reach us by email using fbconspiracies@gmail.com.
A special thanks to Blaze for the music.
If you enjoyed, consider leaving a review.
Join us next week for more football conspiracies. Yabba dabba do.
Yeah!